Good morning, boys and girls. Today I want to talk a little bit about counting by fives. We've talked about counting by fives in the classroom. We've talked about how nickels are 5 cents, which is one of the reasons we need to learn to count by fives. But there's another important reason, and we're going to go into that in a moment. But for right now, let's just review counting by fives. When I'm counting by fives, I always start with the number 5, and then I do the father of the next family, which is 10. So 5, 10. Then the next number is going to end with a 5. It's going to be 15. So that's 5, 10, 15. Now when I'm counting by fives, there's an important pattern that we've talked about. The first one is 5. The first number will always end in a 5. 0, 5. So if there's a 5, 0, 5, that means the next number is going to have a 0. Let's go back to the beginning again. 5, 10, 15, 20. So what is the next one going to be? It's going to be 25 because of that pattern we've seen at the end. Then it's going to be the number with a 0. Can you guess what the number is going to be? Give you a peek. It's going to be 30. Then 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, and 60. Now I am stopping at 60, and there's an important reason I'm doing that, but I'm going to get to that in a moment. Let's review one more time counting by fives. And remember, another way we count by fives is when we're in the classroom and we learned to count by tens, we took our 2 hands, they have 10 fingers, and we would clap. And every time we clapped, we counted by tens. So because our 10 fingers were together. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. That's counting by tens, and we only say the fathers of each family. The father is the number that ends with a 0. Now remember, if we're counting by fives, I'm going to open that up. And here's just 5 and 5. When we put them together, it's going to be the father, the number with the 0 at the end. But when they're separate, it's going to be the number that has a 5 at the end. So let's start with 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, 95, 100. Very good, boys and girls. Let's practice just counting with our flashcards. Ready? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, and 60. Now, I'm going to tell you why I only counted to 60 when I was counting by fives. And that's because I'm going to be using our clock. Now, we've already learned how to tell time with our clock. We've learned that a clock has 2 hands on it, has a very long minute hand, and a very short hour hand. And the reason why the long hand, the minute hand, is so long is because it's going to go around the clock faster than the shorthand does. Let's watch again. If I make my clock move, watch how quickly my minute hand is going to move. Watch how slowly the hour hand moves. Ready? Watch that hour hand. I know my arm is in the way. And if you notice, my hour hand went all the way around the clock, and my minute hand only moved, my minute hand moved all the way around the clock. My hour hand only moved to the next number. It's because that short hour hand, it moves much slowly. It takes 1 hour to get from 8 to 9. But this goes around all that way in 1 hour. Now, you still might not understand why we have to learn about counting by fives to look at a clock. Well, let's talk about why. This hour hand is pointing to the 12. This minute hand is pointing to the 10. I'm sorry, this minute hand is pointing to the 12. This hour hand is pointing to the 10. So we already know what time is it. It's 10 o'clock. Now, if we look at all the clocks, the numbers that go around the clock, we start with 1 and we end at 12, and then we do 1 all over again. Let's count. Ready? I'm going to go ahead and start with 1 o'clock, and let's count all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. We are back at 12 o'clock. Then it starts all over again with 1 o'clock. Now, there are all these little notches, these little blue notches that go around. We have these big numbers right here, but I'm going to tell you a secret. The big numbers are only for the hour hand. The minute hand, we don't use these big numbers. For the minute hand, it uses these little notches. If this minute hand moves right here, 1 minute has passed since 12 o'clock. 2 minutes have passed since 12 o'clock. This long hand is the minute hand. Now 3 minutes have passed since 12 o'clock. 4 minutes have passed since 12 o'clock. 5 minutes have passed since 12 o'clock. So even though you see it's pointing at that big 1, I'm going to move it out of the way so you can see the 1. Really, the reason it's so long is because it's pointing past that number. It's pointing to these little notches. And so it says 5 minutes have passed since 12 o'clock. So I would say it was 12:05. That's what that means. If I were to go around the whole clock with my minute hand, it would be 60 minutes. There are 60 minutes in only 1 hour. That's why the hour hand only moved to 1 number. But the minute hand has gone 60 minutes. Now, when did we just hear 60? Let's see what I have on my desk here. Remember, we only counted to 60. That is why I was counting to 60, was because all of these numbers that we see right here, we count by fives. It helps us to tell what time it is. So if I move it, right now it's 1 o'clock. If I go right here, it's 1:05, 1:10, 1:15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55. Now we don't say 60. 60 minutes have gone by, but really it's 2 o'clock. So if this is 2 o'clock and I go halfway around the clock, see how it's halfway between 2 and 3? It's not 2 o'clock anymore. Now it is half past 2 o'clock. Half past 2 o'clock. And I could also say it is 2:30 because 30 minutes have passed since it was 2 o'clock. It is half past 2 or it is 2:30. Half past 2 or 2:30. It means the same thing. Now let me show you how I would write 2:30. Let me get my chalkboard. Guess what we're going to do? Let's walk. Are you ready? Let's walk all the way to Miss Derry's chalkboard. If I was writing 2 o'clock, this is how I would write it, right? I would write a 2, and then I would put 0, 0 after the 2. And remember, we also can write 2 o'clock like this with words. They mean the same thing. Well, if I'm writing 2:30 or 2:30, look how I'll write it. 2:30. Because 30 minutes have passed since it was 2 o'clock. So it's 2:30 or it is 2:30 because half of the hour has passed since it was 2. And let's go back to Miss Derry's desk. We'll look at the clock again. $2:30. Now, let's continue going around the clock. Look at my hour hand, that little hand to the side right here. It's pointing at the 3 now. Now it is 3 o'clock. But watch my hands. Is it 3 o'clock anymore? No. See how the hour hand is halfway between 3 and 4? That means it is 3:30. Or I would write 3:30. 3:30. Don't accidentally write 13. Remember, 30 is a 3 and a 0. We want to write 30. Now, if I'm looking at the clock, and if Miss Derry says, let's see, I'm gonna make a new time for you. Go, 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 and let's stop. And if I were to say, what time is it? And you were looking at this clock, let's say, you know it's gonna be 30 because it's pointing down here at the 6. That means it's half past whatever the hour is, or it's gonna be 30 after those dots. But you might say, well, Miss Derry, which number do I use? It's in the middle. Well, we know that this hand right here, it's 7:30. It's not even touching 8 yet. So we're definitely not gonna put 8 at the front. It's 7:30. So then I would write 7:30. I wouldn't write 8 yet because it hasn't touched 8 yet. So this would be 7:30. It would be 7:30. Let's do another one. All right, we know this is, tell me the time. 8 o'clock. So I would write 8:00. 8 o'clock. Watch this. Now it's 8:30. Halfway past 8. It's not to the 9 yet, but it is 8:30. So 8:30 equals 8:30. Let's write that on the board. Come with me. Ready? First, let's write 8 o'clock. Now let's write 8:30. Look what you guys just learned. You learned how to tell the time even more than you did before, and I am very, very proud of you. I have been hearing some very good things from your parents about the good work that you're doing. I would love to see you take a picture of your work and send it to me when you finish, especially on day 2, because if you look at our day 2 packet, see day 2 right there? There is going to be some half-past clocks. And I'm going to do another video that's going to help you work on that paper. I'll be very excited when you finish it. If you finish it and send me a picture, I will love it. All right, I'm going to go record that other video. I love you. Have a wonderful night, and I hope to see you soon.